Now with this particular battle, it didn't go off quite as smoothly as I thought it would, especially since I've got 2 water awakenings in here, but we managed to pull it off. Before I attempted this battle, I decided to do the relic draw pull that was for the 7 event that was running at this time, and that's what allowed me to get Aerith's awakening, which I think actually made all the difference in this particular fight. Now, one thing about this particular battle, usually with the 5-star Magicites, I've had this curse, if you will, where I'll try a setup and I get it to work once, but then I can't seem to get the exact same setup to work twice. But actually didn't have that problem in this particular battle. My original setup actually managed to work twice in a row, and actually I haven't modified it really, so setup does actually work pretty well. And everyone is pretty much fully level dived here, which is nice because with Tidus and Bartz, that'll give them the double casts. And of course, Aerith is nice with her particular full level dive because it gives you that ability to heal whenever you use a white magic ability. So that's extremely useful, especially in fights like this. So Riku's primarily focusing on sharpshooter abilities, though she's also using that Mug Bloodlust ability that is helpful. So here we go with Bartz's Awakening. I'd have to say this is probably one of my favorite awakenings because just it's really versatile with the amount of elements that it gives you, and well, Bartz is just one of the best spellbladers in the game right now, at least in my opinion. So that's a nice effect of Aerith's Awakening that you saw there. Whenever you use a white magic ability, it does give you those stock HP. And now we're hitting the Awakening for Tidus. So I love that with the Storm Spell Strike and Bartz's Awakening because it makes it a lot easier to break the damage cap. And like I said, for some reason I thought this battle would go a lot smoother because of the damage cap breaking, but it did take a little bit more effort than I thought. And plus the fact that he heals himself, of course, doesn't help. And especially since, yeah, like I said right here, where he damages you and then he heals himself for almost 50,000 health. So if you don't have some pretty heavy damage, that does make it tough to deal with that. But with Tidus, that's not too much of a problem. Again, you'll see those repeated Blast Spell Strikes and Sapphire Shots really do a nice job at breaking down the enemy's hit points. Now, I don't remember if this particular enemy inflicts sap. I think he does. Not 100% sure about that. But still, having anything that grants you an instant heal with a debuff shield is always extremely useful. So I probably should have renewed the chain at this point, but in this particular battle, I just did the machinations just to decrease the enemy's water resistance a little bit. One thing that's unusual I noticed with a lot of these characters in here, when you get hit with some attacks, it locks them in they're getting damaged pose for just a moment, so that's kind of weird. It is nice with this Day to Remember ability because, as you can see here, it does a lot of attacks that break the damage cap. Though I probably should wait for his Awakening mode to end because after he gets done with his Awakening, he does trigger an attack that does break the damage cap. So I haven't tried the battle for a while, so I might try that the next time I fight Phoenix. I like Bartz's second Ultra better than his first because it gives you that damage cap breaking ability. The only thing you have to be careful with when you're using that particular USB is when you break or when you renew the EX mode that he gets into, the damage from the damage cap breaking attack depends on how many spell blade abilities you've used. And as I found out the hard way, if you happen to be in a point where you can trigger it twice in a row, when you inflict the Spellblade finish, I think that's what it's called, it actually does 0 damage. So you got to make sure you use at least one Spellblade ability after the before you trigger that mode again, because if you don't, then, like I said, you're basically wasting a free damage cap breaking attack. So now we've got the attack bonus and the water bonus again, so that's going to help with the DPS, and that's what I like about Tidus's Ultra Day to Remember, is you get those bonus attacks that trigger after using sharpshooter abilities, so extremely useful against anything weak against water. Yeah, unfortunately though, now with Bart, since he's no longer awake and he's not constantly breaking the damage cap, but he's still getting some pretty good damage in there. I like how Tidus and Jecht give each other that high five at the end of that particular soul break. This is where it is nice though to have that Potions of Plenty ability, because again, I find that I really need to use it a lot as the battle progresses. And Aerith spending several seconds healing there. Again, not breaking the damage cap, but still inflicting a nice amount of damage, and that really helps with building the chains. So here, Crystal's Chosen, so this is what I meant with the Spellblade finish, so you'll see that in just a moment. Yeah, because I remember one time, the first time I actually did this, I triggered the Crystal's Chosen twice in a row. And that was a mistake, because that's when I found out that, oh, since I didn't use any Spellblade abilities, it just did 0 damage. So getting near the end here, so from here, not going to need to trigger the water chain anymore, but it is still nice with Riku's burst how it does reduce the water defense level of the enemy. As you can see, it's with Day to Remember here capping out at damage for all of the attacks, which is awesome. And again, Potions of Plenty comes in and saves the day. Innocent Cure, always a very helpful healing soul break to have. And we're just about done here, so he's got that tiny little sliver of life, but again, I'm learned never to get cocky, because I have had so many Magicite battles where I had the boss down to that tiny little bit of life, but they still managed to kill me. When I was fighting Manticore, I had that happen a lot. But in this particular battle, everything worked rather well, so again, not a speed run, but still a pretty consistent setup, so I find that I usually have a high rate of victory with this particular setup, so it's not like some of my other setups where it's hit or miss. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and found the information helpful. So once again, thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.